0864. Stations your final time cue will be with 15 seconds until airtime. Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
Oregon is going to the Final Four.
The following is a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
This is Ducks football.
We got to elevate and make our teaching standards elite.
Got him deep. He's open. He's got it. He's gone. It is picked up. Intercepted. Oregon with the ball.
There can't be any type of fading. It doesn't work that way.
20, 50. He's going to score. 10. Touchdown, Oregon.
We invest a lot of time in that, and we expect that to pay off in a big-time way.
Oregon repeats as the Pac-12 champion.
This is the Oregon Football Coaches Show on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield. Tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Country Financial Insurance. Protect what matters. And by Pepsi and Bigfoot Beverages. Go Ducks. Drink Pepsi. Now, let's talk Oregon Ducks football. Alongside Mike Jorgensen and Joey Mac, here's the voice of the Ducks, Jerry Allen.
Well, thank you and welcome to the show. Here in our Country Financial Studios, Jerry Allen, Jorgensen and Joey Mac. How you doing over there? Long way over there.
God, this is a whole new spot for me. Normally, I'm over there. This is
the angle of the lights.
This is weird.
48-7 last weekend. I look at this, and AP number 3, coaches ranked number 4, and I get a little goosebumpy about that because it's a big deal because the nation's talking about Alabama and Georgia and everybody. The Ducks are one of the top 3-4 teams in the nation. That's significant. Fans should be clamoring to get into Autzen Stadium on Saturday.
Isn't it funny how it works? As I talk to two groups of fans, right? The fans are going, gosh, now we're number 3 or 4. Everybody's going to be after us. You got to target. I'd rather be sitting at 8 or 9. I'm like, what?
Oh, no.
That's what you work for
Yes.
as a player and a coach, particularly to be the top of the top, to be in a position to control your own destiny, and that's kind of where they are right now.
Well, and I got some goosebumps, honestly, when you, Jorgie, said something at the end of our broadcast this past weekend, which was, hey, this is special. This doesn't happen very often. Well, I kind of thought to myself, like, yeah, okay, when was the last time Oregon was this high in the poll? It was 2014. Remember what happened in 2014? That was a pretty darn fun year in 2014 to be a Duck fan and to be a Duck. So, yeah, it is special. So I hope that for that 7:30 Pac-12 opener, everybody's going to be at Autzen Stadium. It's going to be awesome. And, guys, I was thinking about this too. Like, there are a number of guys that still are getting used to what that Autzen experience is. And I feel like there's still more there in kind of the return to Autzen, that coming home logo and that idea that we've all come to know. I think there's still more there in a night, evening environment in a Pac-12 game. This is going to be a lot of fun this week.
Yeah, I'm totally looking forward. It's Pac-12. Arizona comes in. Guys, I'm a little nervous about it because they got to be a little angry. They got to be a little embarrassed.
Yeah.
And they want to get back in the spotlight. And no way better to do it than to come into Autzen Stadium, which has a ton of respect, and Oregon, which obviously is respected, and make a statement, get back on top.
Yeah, I mean, when you play a team like Oregon or a top 5, even a top 10 team, if you're another Pac-12 school that's not rated, and obviously Arizona has struggled a little bit this year, you always raise your game. Your game goes up another notch. And again, Oregon has to know that, and they've got to begin to prepare for that for everybody they play, whether it's Stony Brook, whether it's Arizona, whether it's Fresno State, whether it's some pretty good teams or some teams that maybe people don't think. You're going to get an extra effort and an extra special type of performance from teams that you play regardless what the record is.
Yeah, and boy, Fresno State looks like a pretty darn good team right now, don't they?
I
think that's something to be said. Guys, I've said this before that I feel like at Oregon the expectation is to win championships. Broad-based excellence is what Rob Mullins, Oregon Athletic Director, always talks about. If you don't have a bullseye in the middle of that O, you're probably not succeeding at the level that you would like to. And that's what so many programs around the University of Oregon have done, and Oregon football is doing it right now, which is really special. Also, shout out Oregon volleyball, take down the Beavs tonight.
Right now, they started. They just tipped off, so that one's going on.
And Oregon
right
was
now.
just talk about what we were just talking about there. They were on the flip side of that, going to Columbus.
That's right.
I mean, as a top 15 team, mind you, but all of a sudden you're playing a top 5 team, it's amazing what your game does when you go into that type of situation.
Yeah, there's no doubt you really
consistency, though, right? You want to have consistency. You don't want to play to your opponent's level. I think that's something that I'm looking for with this matchup this weekend is you want the Ducks to get that consistency going. A lot of the coaches and players have talked about that this week.
Yeah, and the Stony Brook game I don't want to say it's a no-win situation because everybody expects you to go in there and blow them out, shut them out, and all kinds of things.
You could win by 100 and someone's upset.
No, exactly. I thought Oregon's offense, took a little while to get some rhythm going in that game. The defense, I thought, played spectacular throughout. So I think that's the big thing you're looking for now, Joey, is some consistency, some continuity, and a little bit of rhythm beginning when the game starts.
Yeah. Well, and, the other thing that's cool, guys, is we saw a ton of new faces.
Oh, boy, did we.
Right.
We have seen 18 guys from the class of 2021. You're going to hear from a bunch of them later on the show, by the way. I mean, Jorgie, a lot of new faces. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of new faces playing in big games, let alone the Stony Brook game. But, quicker start, that's what they're looking for.
All right, Marcel Yates is going to join us. I'm excited. His first year with us on the Duck coaching staff, secondary and passing game coordinator. Talked to him a little earlier today, and he's been around the Pac-12. He understands the Pac-12. He's been on the West Coast, graduate of Boise State. We'll talk to him about all that, but I'm anxious to hear what he talks about when we break down what it's like to coach guys to defend the pass. Huh? You wouldn't know. You're a quarterback. You always had guys defend.
Always wanted to pick on those guys. They had their way with me, I can tell you that. So
I'm not going to say any more. No more. Pepsi Coaches Spotlight is coming up back in the Country Financial Studios. Jerry, Jorgie, Joey will join us later on. We've got a lot of players for you to hear from, too. And Coach Yates next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, well, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
I think coming off of that year, I think it really helped me build even more character. And I think I went through that in order for me to be prepared for the next year.
Johnny Johnson III.
This episode of the Mighty Oregon Podcast, presented by Oregon Community Credit Union, features wide receiver Johnny Johnson III and his underdog story of redemption and leadership within the Oregon football program. The episode is available now wherever you get your podcasts.
You're listening to the Oregon Football Coaches Show. Oregon Football Coaches Show on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
These are the sounds of a dinner. A dinner that almost didn't happen. A dinner now served thanks to people like you. Due to COVID-19, 17 million more Americans may face hunger. Feeding America is helping our neighbors in need. And if you're able, you can too. Donations are being accepted at feedingamerica.org/coronavirus. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
It's time for today's STEM tip. Okay, you know recycling is important. No one wants plastic in the ocean. Here's a cool way to repurpose a plastic bottle. Build an awesome terrarium. Cut a large plastic bottle in half and fill the base with sand, pebbles, potting soil, and your favorite plant. I chose an African violet. Put the top of the bottle over your base and place it in the sun. Your plant will grow sealed in its own ecosystem. Fun, right? Learn more at She Can STEM. A message from the Ad Council.
Welcome back inside the Country Financial Studios. Jerry Allen with Jorgie and secondary and pass game coordinator. He works with the guys that defend the pass. Marcel Yates. Coach Yates joins us tonight. Coach, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate you guys.
First season. Now, you got here right after the holidays, January, February, so you got a chance to go through those spring drills, huh?
Yes, I did.
What kind of a benefit is that to be able to learn your team before you get into the meat of the season?
That was huge. Having a chance to come in and watch those guys work out and train, and lift weights was obviously huge for me. And then to go through spring ball and then have a chance to install our new system with these guys was huge.
Wow, that's right. It was a new system. Right? Mm-hmm. Before we get into the nuts and bolts of it, talk about your family. I know you got a couple of kids.
Yep. I have a son, Eric, and a daughter, Cabry.
So you're trying to talk him into going into coaching or not at all?
No. Eric played football, so he played corner. He was a corner, so he had to have good feet, and he had to know how to cover right when your dad's a DB guy. So he obviously
Can you imagine that?
He felt that pressure, but he had walked on for 1 year at Boise, and then he had hurt his shoulder. He tore his labrum twice, so he hung that up. And then my daughter, she's 13. She lives in Boise with her mom, and she's into art, so she wants nothing to do with sports. She's all about being an artist and drawing, and
can't get hurt doing that.
Can't get her doing that. So
that's
yeah.
a good thing.
Yeah, the city of Boise, and we were talking about this during the break, obviously before we came on. A lot of years there, not only as a player, obviously, growing up in Southern California and then coming to Boise. And again, a lot of difference between Southern California and Boise, Idaho. There's no doubt about it, particularly back in the late 1990s when it wasn't, the city that it is now that it's grown into. But a lot of great years there as a player and a coach. Talk about that a little bit if you would.
When I think about Boise, I had actually started off at UOP, and then they canceled the football program.
Oh, that's right.
And then I went through starting all over from scratch. So I took trips to Hawaii. I was going to Memphis. I was going to Fresno State. And then my last trip was Boise. And I had actually committed to Hawaii. And Ron Gould, at the time, who played here at Oregon,
yes.
He was a DB coach at Boise. And he kept telling me, hey, just get on the plane. Hop on the plane and come and see it. So I came, or I went rather. And I loved the place. I fell in love with it. And so what's interesting about that was I went through a coaching staff at UOP. My first year at Boise was Pokey Allen as a head coach. My third year was Houston Nutt. And then my fourth year was Dirk Cutter. So as a player, that may sound bad for you as a player because you're going through all those coaching staffs. But as a coach, it actually works out for you because you knew a lot of people, or you know a lot of people. So every one of those guys that were on the staff, those 4 different staffs, I was very close with. So when a word was out that I wanted to be a coach, I had a lot of people I knew in the business that kind of helped me get into it. So it kind of worked out for me.
We talked one more about, obviously, a head coach that you were under at Boise State, Chris Peterson, who was here at Oregon at one time, and offensive coordinator at Boise State, and then head coach, and the run that you guys had and the mentor that he was for you. Talk about that.
Yeah, well, Coach Pete was a guy that I was very close to. When I first got hired there, he was offensive coordinator. And so whenever he spoke, it just made sense to me. Whenever he spoke in meetings and whatever he said, it just clicked for me. So he was a guy that I was very close to, when it came to jobs or came to recruits or came to techniques or whatever. He was a guy that I could, he always had ideas for me. And after my third year at Boise, he became the head coach. And from that relationship, we became very close. The way he did things just kind of made it just made sense to me, And so how he ran his program, he was all about culture. He was all about building the guys up. Very similar to somebody I work for right now. And so, those guys are winners, and whenever you're around somebody that wins, it's kind of, they're not necessarily the same people, but they have a lot of the same attributes that they kind of hold people accountable, to kind of do right within that winning program. So for me, all the places that I've been at that have won, to me, there's a common a bottom line as far as the way they do things. And so for me, he was one of those guys that, I learned a lot from.
18 of your 20 seasons as a college coach, served as a defensive coordinator 8 of the last 9. It's funny how you grew up in L.A. and wanted to go play for Arizona. I think I read that somewhere. And then you end up coaching there. You've been in the Pac-12. What's it like now when you look at conference championships? You've been a member of 11 teams that have won conference championships. Success has either followed you around or you have followed success around. What do you attribute that to? You making good decisions, Coach?
Yeah. I know how to follow good quarterbacks too. So those teams have had some good quarterbacks. But you know, like I said, I've worked for head coaches and I work for assistant coaches that I feel like there is a common denominator as far as the way you do things. There's a process, and for me, and honestly, when I went to Arizona and we struggled, my first year I think we were 3-9. That was the first time I'd ever had a losing season in my career, and I think that was year 16. And I called my mom, and you know, I was being a baby, right, as she would call it, you know. And my mom and my dad are they love me, but they can also give me tough love sometimes. And she told me, she said, you know what, suck it up. You've had 16 years of success. You need to be humble. And so for me, those years at Arizona were great for me because for 2 of those years I coached linebackers. I had been a DB coach that whole time. And so with me coaching linebackers, that kind of changed my whole outlook on football because I learned about the O-line, the D-line, the front. And so that helped me kind of grow as a coach, learn the game from inside out, you know, because I knew the back end, right? I knew receivers, I knew running backs, but didn't know as much as I needed to about the O-line, blocking schemes, run fits, and stuff like that. So I kind of grew as a coach and became a lot more well-rounded as far as understanding the game completely.
We got more questions for you. Lots of fun to talk about this team, what's ahead, and a lot more. He is Marcel Yates, secondary coach. I'm going to ask him about teaching somebody like Jorgie how to defend a pass. Right? No. Technique, Jorgie. But you got to be athletic. Well, we'll get into that.
Yeah, right. That's right.
We'll get into that.
Don't look at me.
It's a Pepsi Coaches Spotlight. I'm Jerry Allen. We're on the Oregon Sports Network, and we're here and back from Learfield.
How many Boss Babies can one family hold? Find out in the outrageous adventure, The Boss Baby Family Business. Now available at Redbox. Set 40 years after Boss Baby, estranged brothers Tim and Ted Templeton reunite when a magical formula turns them into babies for 48 hours. Joining forces with Tim's secret agent daughter, they must go undercover to prevent an evil genius from turning toddlers into monstrous brats. Watch The Boss Baby Family Business and make it a Redbox night. Visit redbox.com for all the ways to watch.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
You're listening to the Oregon Football Coaches Show on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Neil Armstrong waited 6 hours and 39 minutes to step onto the surface of the moon. Jackie Robinson waited 20 months to play his first game with the Brooklyn Dodgers. And even DiCaprio had to wait 22 years to win an Oscar. You can wait until your destination. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Welcome back inside the Country Financial Studios. I'm Jerry Allen with Jorgie and our coach who works with the secondary. It's an area that's exciting, it's fun, and it's usually one of those areas that when a quarterback goes deep with the ball, everybody goes, ooh, ah, oh, and I'm sure coaches are doing the same thing. When you're watching that game, I mean, you got to be a contortionist because you're hoping your guys are going to do the right things and remember what you coached them. I just asked this during the break of you. What is it you look for in a good secondary person? There's safeties and there's corners, but how do you evaluate? What is it you're trying to find?
First, I think you need to look at your system. So with your system, are you multiple? Are you kind of an easy system? Are you playing more man? Are you playing more zone? So I'm looking for smart players first, and then I'm looking for guys that are physical. I think you are who you are, and so me, when I played, I was a physical player, and so I like players that are physical, because that kind of matched my personality. And so when I turn on the film, I'm looking at guys that obviously can move, right? You can see the hips, you can see the feet. You can see the feet, you can see the speed, but at the same time, I want to see this guy. Is he coming up to tackle? Is he hitting people naturally, or is he kind of shying away? Is he a cringer? Right. Is he going to cringe when he comes to hit? Is he getting off blocks? Is he running to the ball? So those are kind of things that you look at.
I'm going to guess you were not a cringer.
No, I wasn't cringing.
You like to hit people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the position.
Yeah. I learned at a young age it was either go hit or be hit. So I'd rather be the hammer, and not the nail.
That's cool.
Coach, how do you approach, you've been a defensive coordinator many of the years of your career. Have worked with Coach DeRuiter the last couple of years down at Cal, obviously here now in that type of deal. Former coordinator with the coordinator. I asked the same question to Coach DeRuiter as a former head coach, working with a head coach. How do you approach that? How do you work that process?
To me, it's easy. I think when you've sat in that seat, either as a coordinator or you're in a leadership, when you're in a leadership position and then you're no longer in that leadership position, you want people. For me, it's easy, right? Because I treat Coach DeRuiter and I treat everybody I work for the way I would want to be treated, And so for me with Coach DeRuiter, my job is to make his job easier. I'm going to have ideas. I'm going to bring him stuff that kind of fits his system, and he's going to say yay or nay. If he says no, I'm not going to take that personal. You know what I mean? Because once again, he's the one that's going to call it. But at the same time, when we make the decision that this is what we're going to run and we leave that meeting room, I'm going to go in my meeting room and present that to my players and hold them accountable as if I was a coordinator calling it, So for me, I always say I wish that guys that coach that haven't been coordinators could go be coordinators and then come back, right, and coach a position, because you'll look at it totally different. Guys that haven't been coordinators, they always think that they have a better idea or a better way to do it, and so I learned at a young age, right, when I had all these ideas from certain guys, I would ask them, okay, yeah, that's a great idea, right, because I learned I don't always want to tell guys no, right? I would always turn back on them. I say, okay, but that's a great idea, but how do we implement that? So then I turn it back on them. Okay, how do we implement that? How are you going to go in there and you're going to teach an 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old how to do that, right? Because that sounds great to us, right, because we're coaches, right? We play, but when you have a 55-minute meeting, and you have to implement this defense, you have to watch film, and you have other stuff you got to run, where does that fit in our system? And then when they think about that, they may say, that doesn't fit in our system. You know what I mean? So my respect for him as a leader, I treat him the way I would want to be treated, right, if I was sitting in his seat.
And you, being in that seat or having been in that seat, you know what he's looking for. You know what he wants and what he wants to hear from you.
Exactly. Yep. And so we get along great. I respect him. I've learned a lot from him. If there's something that he doesn't like that we're doing, I get it fixed. I'm not a guy that's going to argue about inside leverage compared to outside leverage or, here's what he wants. He's a defensive coordinator. He wants it ran a certain way. We're going to run it. We're going to have conversations about the best way to do something or a better way to do something, right? Because that's just natural. So when we have those conversations, he gets my input. But there's times where he doesn't need my input and he wants it ran a certain way. I'm going to get it done.
Yeah, you understand that.
Yeah.
You talk about leaders. You got a tremendous leader in that secondary. A lot of great players, but Verone McKinley.
Verone.
Talk about him a little bit. What it means to have a guy back there like that just really takes charge.
I recruited him when I was at Arizona. So I know he and his family well. You know, I know his dad well. And so when I first got hired here, he was the first one, that came in. And he's a coach on the field. You know, he's a coach in the meeting room. He knows the game. Here's a great example of Verone. This says it all right here, okay? So we go to Ohio State, okay? We come back Saturday night. We get back 8:30, okay? I come in the office early Sunday morning, right? I think I'm here early. At 7:30 a.m., Verone McKinley is in my office after the Ohio State game, okay? He wants to watch film of the Ohio State game, and then he wants to start getting ready for Stony Brook. That right there says it all about Verone. When he did that, I felt like my room was just different. And not only my room, this team was different because a lot of people after that victory would come and be like, okay, we just beat Ohio State. We made it. But for him to be in my office at 7:30 on Sunday, ready to go, ready to watch film, ready to see what he can get better at, ready to watch the next opponent, that was something special from, to me.
I don't know if there's anything better for a coach than to have a young man on the field who holds his teammates accountable for their job and what they do. It makes your job so much easier.
Yeah, without a doubt.
That's what he does.
Yeah, that's what he does.
As you look at Jorgie, I'll let you jump in here.
Well, I was just going to say, with the Arizona coming up,
yeah.
Tell us a little bit about Arizona, what you see in the strengths of the offense and that team that you're going to be facing, but particularly you're watching the offensive side of the ball.
Right. I think the scheme, they run a great scheme. I think they play hard. I think their receivers are very good. The receivers. I know a lot of those guys, their running backs run hard. O-line, like I said, schematically what they're doing is very good. And, their scheme, right, they're doing a lot of things out of different groups. They run 11 personnel, 12 personnel, 10 personnel. Their O-line firing off the ball. Receivers are running hard. They real run vertical, right? They have some speed. So they run vertical. They get behind people. So that's one thing, right? You got to make sure, you don't let them get behind you. And just, once again, I just think they're offense that at any moment could just click and take off. You know what I mean? At any moment, and they've had spurts where you've kind of seen that, but their receivers, I tell you what, when I turned on the film, right, okay, and I showed their guys, their receivers, their speed, right, their running backs, you heard some, ooh, okay, yeah, so we had a great week of practice thus far, so we still have some more time, right, to go, but they're a team, once again, and I think they're going in the right direction.
As a coach, all you're asking from your guys is preparation leading up to a game, so that when the game comes, they can execute what you've been teaching and been coaching. I talked to, I'm sure you're familiar with Kenny Wheaton, who played for the Ducks and went to the NFL, and I asked him one day, I said, because he's not a very big guy, and I said, how do you compete? And he said, athleticism and preparation.
Right. Preparation.
Two keys.
Right.
And you talked about Verone McKinley with that.
Right.
How did the guys around Verone absorb that? Do you see them? I mean, you're coaching them in the room. Are they understanding what he's trying to show them what you're trying to coach?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first thing with him is to me, I shouldn't say it's easy, but when you're a leader and you do it the right way, that makes it easier to be a leader. And so for him, he comes out every day, he works. He's in the front of the line. He's the first one in the meeting room. So whenever you have that type of leadership, that makes your job as a coach easier, right? Because whenever your leader is doing it, everybody else is going to follow, And so for me, like he's the first one in the meeting room. He's, our thing is early's on time. So I show up to the meeting room 15, 20 minutes early. He's already sitting there ready to go, right? He has his notebook. And so this kid he loves football. I mean, he loves football. He loves to play the game. He loves to practice, and it's even to the point now to where if he's not super energetic, I get on him sometimes, but then I have to back up a little bit because I'm like, he doesn't always have to be super energetic. Sometimes he's just so focused, and he's ready to go. But at the same time, I'm telling him, I need your energy, right? I need you to be energetic, right, to bring these other guys with you. And he's been great for me, as far as that leadership.
He leads by example.
He leads by example.
You can't beat that, huh?
No.
Arizona coming up, a night game. Night games any more fun for a coach than a day game?
Game is a game. Let's go. Let's play. Let's play.
Coach, can't thank you enough for coming in. It's just so fun to pick your brain and see what's going on in there and obviously how much fun you're having. I wish I could have watched you play. Is there some video out there so we could see you hitting somebody?
It was VHS back then, so and I'm not like a big highlight tape guy that I carry my highlight tape around, so I don't know where that tape is.
We'll find something. Yeah, we'll find out. He is Marcel Yates, secondary with the Ducks, his first year with Oregon. Glad to have him on the staff and so happy to have him come join us here tonight. We'll talk again, Coach.
Thanks for having me.
Good luck this weekend. As always, we're back with Joey Mac. He's got some players to hear from and some fun guys and some funny comments as well. It's all ahead on the Oregon Sports Network here from Learfield.
Here's how Duck fans take flight with OCCU. Start with a Lucky Duck savings account. Move up to a Duck debit card with free checking. Then graduate to a Duck credit card. OCCU makes your financial journey easier with fewer fees, higher rates on savings, and lower rates on loans. Discover the OCCU difference at myoccu.org/Go Ducks.
Ready to get back in the game? Great news. The movement experts at Proactive Physical Therapy Specialists can help you find relief and results and keep you off the sidelines. With 15 convenient locations across Portland, contact Proactive Physical Therapy Specialists today at proactivepts.com to see a physical therapist. Proactive Physical Therapy Specialists, a proud partner of Oregon Athletics and trusted choice for keeping Duck fans in the game.
The ins and outs of all things Ducks. This is Oregon football from Learfield.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s, like go back to college, learn to skateboard. Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. At aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a free 3-minute chat with the friendly digital retirement coach, Avo, and receive personalized tips to help boost your savings. Start chatting with Avo today at aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Papa, why can't we telegraph while riding a horse? Son, there ain't no one to blame but Jeffro. He was riding old Betsy the Stallion, tip-tapping away at his telegraph, when blam, ran right into the side of the saloon.
Well, if Jeffro can't do it, neither should you. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
This mask thing, I'm just saying, welcome back to the show. I forget that we got to put these on, and all of a sudden we're on the air, and it's like snap yourself in the face with the air thing. Jerry and Jorgie and Joey. and
I do it every day. I create my own atmosphere.
I can't even. Fun stuff in the studio tonight because you're going to get a chance to hear from, I think you're going to hear from our punter. Thompson?
You are,
okay.
Yeah. Thompson, we got to know him, Camden Lewis a little bit. Also, some of the guys that you're familiar with. Actually going to start with Brandon Dorless. You know, one of the things, guys, that we know comes with having that target on your back, proverbially, or sometimes literally, who knows, is you got to learn how to handle success. Brandon Dorless was talking a little bit about that. What's the mentality of this team right now?
No, it's just mentality's got to stay
gotta stay humble. Gotta stay hungry. Coming off a win like Ohio State, people just decide like, okay, they're good with that. But nah, that's not the thing. We're hungry still. We've got something to prove every week.
Gotta love that, right? You're still hungry, still got something to prove. And, the Ducks maybe didn't play the best first half like they wanted to last week. And Johnny Johnson III, similarly, handling success. What's the mentality right now of this squad?
I think we're grinding. I think we know we have a lot better play we can put on tape. And I think, we got the win last weekend, but we definitely wanted to do more on the field. So we're grinding to get there.
One of the things, too, that the Ducks are now preparing for kind of a unique situation. You heard a little bit from Coach Yates. 3 quarterbacks could play for Arizona, and they're still trying to figure out who is going to play quarterback. So how does that affect things? Steve Stevens, a guy who's put together a great season in the secondary so far, how does that change things?
Yeah, definitely. It's not a common situation to have to study 3 quarterbacks,
Right.
So you want to go and watch the games where those guys played and, really hone in on what they do good, whether they like to run more, whether they like to pass more, whether they're a little bit more hesitant in the pocket, they want to run out. So, you just got to really just study those different guys and really hone in on what they do.
So that's a little bit about what the Ducks are going to be dealing with that 7:30 kickoff against Arizona. But now let's go back in time a little bit. Of course, we saw Ty Thompson in action. The Ducks scored 24 points when he was at quarterback. And, 12 freshmen, I should say, made their debuts against Stony Brook. That's 12 additional to the guys who have already played. More on that in a second. Well, Ty Thompson, a lot of different guys have seen the field, huh?
I don't think it's any different. I feel like, we come out here every day and work, no matter if we're the 1s or 2s or who's playing. Everyone on the field could play at any program in the country. So whether you're a 1 or a walk-on or a 4, whatever you are, I feel like anyone on our team can play anywhere. So we all come out and give it our best every day, and I feel like, who plays and who doesn't play doesn't change how we practice.
How about that, though? The context is that, just everybody's ready to go all the time because practice doesn't change, as he was referring to there. Next, though, another guy that made his debut, and we're still getting to know him, is Jackson Powers Johnson. We know that Coach Mirabal really likes to have those guys play multiple positions. Isn't that right?
Mostly just center, some here guard, It just depends on the day, Coach Mirabal likes to cross-train, so I'll get right guard, left guard, whatever they need me to do, because if anybody goes down, shame on me if I can't get in there and do my best and be prepared.
Quote of the day right there.
That's great.
Right? An offensive lineman, a young guy who's saying, shame on me if I'm not ready to go in and play my best. That is absolutely what you'd love to see. One of those guys that took advantage of his opportunity is Brandon Buckner. Kind of a cool story, but he first reacted to just, what's it like being out there as a freshman right now?
It felt great, being at that stage as a freshman, just, it's what you live for. That's why you come to a program like this. And overall, I wasn't too nervous because, I'm just so locked in, but it was definitely a memory that goes down in the books for sure. You dream about this as a kid playing on the biggest stage of college football, so it's definitely one to remember.
So that Buckner name, I know a lot of people are like, well, is he related to DeForest? No, but he is related to a guy who played in the NFL for 12 years, is currently the defensive line coach for the Arizona Cardinals. That's his father, Brentson Buckner. His sister is playing at Matthew Knight Arena right now. Unfortunately, it's for the other team, not Oregon, but still an athletic family nonetheless. And Braden Swinson is Brandon Buckner's cousin. Just runs in the family, I guess. And, Buckner talked a little bit about what it's like having his dad around, who's a coach himself.
I remember he used to wake me up early, way before school, to wake up and watch film. Sometimes I used to be late going to school because we used to be watching film, just different clips and breakdowns and stuff. And he still helps me till this day. Like, I still send him clips of tackles we're going to be playing against this week, and we would just be on the phone talking what moves to use, what counter moves. If he does this, you got to do that. So, it's ultimately just a bond, a dad and son bond that goes way more than football. So I really appreciate that.
Awesome. And he's still probably his toughest critic, right? And always going to tell him the truth. Absolutely love that from Brandon Buckner. 39 freshmen have seen playing time so far this season. 18 of those are from the 2021 recruiting class. Ty Thompson's one of them. And Ty Thompson talked about the freshmen. How have they been so darn successful early on? It's not just the recruiting rankings.
I think we all came in ready to, play. We saw the headlines, best class in school history, and I don't think we let that get to our heads. We came in and worked. I think the seniors, upperclassmen, took notice of that, and they've given us their props. I feel like we came in ready to work. We came in with our heads down and try to take some jobs. It wasn't like we were coming in as freshmen. We were coming in trying to see the field.
I love that. Just coming in trying to take jobs right away. And also one of those guys is Dante Thornton. I think that was one of those big plays. Dante Thornton sure looked the part with that 54-yarder. And how about Troy Franklin helping him out in the process too? That play really, I think, was made, not to mention the offensive line, by a bunch of freshmen. Well, and Duck fans are sure glad Dante Thornton's here. Ty Thompson's big reason why.
Yeah, Dante, I mean, I knew he was going to break one eventually. I mean, he got the ball his first catch, and he busted it for, 50-something? So he's a really special athlete, special talent. So, I mean, that was a great connection. Obviously, I've been trying to recruit him since, the day after I committed. So seeing that connection kind of come to life was pretty fun.
That's one of those things on the recruiting trail these days. It seems like some of the commits are the biggest recruiters. It's not necessarily the coaches, right? And that speaks to the culture that the Ducks have around here. Back to the offensive line, Jackson Powers-Johnson. Maybe it's not actually as hard as he thought it was, and the reason? Preparation.
I just learned that, it's not as hard as I think it is, a little bit. And for sure it's college football, but I just learned that, it's just a game, too. And it just gave me a little bit of taste for more. I want more, I want to get out there as much as I can and help my team. Mm-hmm. And it was a great experience, and I'm humbled to be able to be a part of it.
And in addition to the preparation, that mentality that you can hear from Jackson Powers-Johnson, also learning from your mentors, a big reason why a lot of folks have success. He talked about that with Alex Forsythe.
Oh, I love Alex. He's like a big brother to me, honestly. He helps me out so much. I mean, not just on the field, but off the field too. Me and him have the same kind of anxiety types where we want to be early and we want to do certain things. So whatever he does, I do, because he's a great player. He's setting up for a great season, and I want to be just like him, and learning from him and growing with him and, just helping him out. It's a great process, and I love him as a person. I love him as a football player.
Jackson Powers-Johnson and Alex Forsythe. I think you can see why he's found the field early on. A very, very strong head on his shoulders. Jerry?
I love the presence of each of the young men. When you talk to them, their intelligence, they're camera ready, they are very sharp with their answers and respectful. I mean, it's not like in the old days when we used to interview Jorgie when he's a quarterback and
God, the digs
you can tell
I'm on him, but there's a reason, and I won't tell you why. No, you don't want to know why I'm on him. Okay.
Yeah, but I tell you what,
it's a different level.
What a great job the coaching staff have done at evaluating these young men and recruiting them and that type of deal. And again, to hear from a freshman, shame on me.
That's huge.
If I'm not prepared, Jackson Powers-Johnson, I mean, you just don't hear that from guys that are 18. They wouldn't know to say that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's great.
Let's take the break. We'll come back. The Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
How many Boss Babies can one family hold? Find out in the outrageous adventure, The Boss Baby Family Business, now available at Redbox. Set 40 years after Boss Baby, estranged brothers Tim and Ted Templeton reunite when a magical formula turns them into babies for 48 hours. Joining forces with Tim's secret agent daughter, they must go undercover to prevent an evil genius from turning toddlers into monstrous brats. Watch The Boss Baby Family Business and make it a Redbox night. Visit redbox.com for all the ways to watch.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
More Jerry, Jorgie, and Joey after this timeout. You're listening to the Oregon Football Coaches Show on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
That'll faucet running?
That's not a faucet. That's a river rushing through the forest. Forest rivers provide over 100 million people with clean water to drink.
What? I can't hear you because of the vacuum.
That's not a vacuum. That's the trees in the forest cleaning up the air we breathe.
I didn't know the trees were so amazing.
Yep, and the forest gives us shade, trees to climb.
That's awesome. Let's go explore some more.
Visit the forest today and enjoy all it does, just for you. To learn more about the forest and find one near you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Welcome back inside our Country Financial Studios. Jerry, Jorgie, and Joey Mac. And Joey's got more guys to hear from. Joey.
Hey, focus on the special teams today. You always love when you spend 9.5 minutes talking to the kicker and 11.5 minutes talking to the punter, because they're not going to talk for that long if something went wrong in special teams. They're only going to talk for that long if they, A, have a great story to tell, and B, they're having a lot of success. Both Camden Lewis and Thompson having a lot of success right now. Camden Lewis, look, we know that he dealt with a little bit of a slump. This quote right here, everybody just needs to listen to the way that this young man dealt with a little bit of adversity in his life.
Sure, you just can't give up. You can't ever just give in. Like, I knew what I was capable of. I knew what I can do, and I really just came down to believing in myself and believing in my abilities. Because you go through some rough things on the field, you start to kind of forget what you're capable of. Like you have a couple bad games, have a couple practices. It's like. It's almost like you forget how to do what you do every day, you know what I mean? So it really just came down to believing in myself, talking to my family, talking to my friends, just getting comfortable again and just, smiling more and just being happy, like looking around and seeing where I am, and just being grateful for what I have. And, things fall into place, and they did.
And that's why he only missed a handful of field goals in fall camp. That's why he won the starting kicker job. And he did say that he and Henry Cattleman are buddies, but they're battling, and it's friendly, but it's competition. Mario Cristobal talked a lot about how Camden Lewis, man, has just really had a great attitude throughout the whole process. You just heard why right there. To the other guy who's having a lot of success in the kicking game, Tom Snee, what does he think of punting?
Punting is a really weird role. It's a very different position to many of the guys on the team, and in aspects, you're pretty isolated back there. You're at times 13, 14 yards away from anyone else on the field. So I think those two things kind of go in hand. And as far as the position that I play is concerned and how it's, you're part of the same team, but yet my position is very different to the requirements of a receiver or a defensive back. I think that, again, is tied into the independence, and I sort of just take it on, and I look forward to the opportunity, but I embrace the fact that it is a different role, and I try and make the most of it in that aspect.
And boy, has he made the most of it so far. Right now, I think he's probably on that watch list for the Ray Guy Award, which is given to the best punter annually. And he's, as you could tell, Australian. You know how the Ducks actually got him here? Via a Skype session. They couldn't make that 22-hour flight work, Coach Cristobal said, but they got him here, and boy, are they glad that they did. Tom Snee talked a little about the adjustment to college and, frankly, to moving across the country, and not just the country, the world.
It kind of went hand in hand with the adjustments I had to make in life as well back in 2018 as a true freshman. As I said, I had just a lot to get used to, and when I was trying to deal with kicking and punting technique-wise, my efforts at training were also diminished somewhat just because of the stress I was dealing with in life and getting set up in college and getting used to everything else that comes with it. So it was a lot for me to take in, but now having been here 2, 3, 4 years and getting more comfortable on the life and the college side of things, it's helped me refine it even further and sort of put more time and focus into that.
He's grown up and he's matured, hasn't he? You just love to hear that from a guy who is having a lot of success on the field and in his personal life, too. Tom is one of the easiest guys to root for that I've ever met. And, this is, I think, going to make a lot of people happy. I think some punters, you'd think, well, they're going to worry about hang time, or they're going to worry about how far they're booming the ball. Well, actually, the stat that he's thinking about, it's a team stat for Tom Snee.
The biggest one I'm concerned with would be return yards. I don't want return yards. Every returner we have in this conference is fast as heck and is one of the best athletes on the field at every time. So each game, my biggest concern is probably the return aspect and just trying to eliminate that potential from the opposition's game plan. But as far as tangible statistics, I'm not I don't have anything in my head. I just want to help the team win and then put the defense in as good a position as they can be in each time.
Team guy who's a specialist on special teams right now in Tom Snee. Tom is great, and you guys know this. I love a good punter.
You're going to see two great ones this week.
I know.
Two of the best in the nation on the field at the same time.
Truly, Tom Snee and Coach Cristobal said this today. He's a weapon for Oregon right now.
Flip the field, baby.
Having a great punter, I think it might be one of, if not the most underrated things in football. If you have a great punter, totally changes the game.
Yeah, truly does. You got something else coming, right?
Don't worry, I got one left.
Okay, I'll save it. Sometimes it's the best for last. We're back with more. It's a Coach's Show on this Wednesday evening on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
You're not too cool for me. And in return, I reciprocate that sentiment. I'll never be too cool for you. I was a man with a plan, but now I'm a dad with a decree, and you can't take that from me. Please let it be noted that I told my job they can dock my pay. Right now, it's just too important to take you to school every day. I want to be legendary for you. I want you to puff out your chest when you go to school, the same way I do. I walk taller because of you, because I found everything to live for.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too. Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and experiences connect through conversation, and it feels good.
This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too. Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together. Start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
When you went car shopping, you meant business. You aced vehicle history searches and test drives. You out-salesman to the salesman. Now you've got your wheels. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart saving strategies, you'll have the info you need to get more for your future. Go to aceyourretirement.org, because when it comes to speeding past financial challenges, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Look out, world, we're getting strong. The future's here and we belong. She can STEM, she can do more. Like build a rocket and watch it soar. Or clean the oceans and make the world a better place. Oh, she can STEM, so can you. Find a cure, invent something new. There's no challenge in the world that she can't face. She can STEM.
Learn more at She Can STEM. A message brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back inside our Country Financial Studios. Jerry, Jorgie, and Joey has saved the best for last.
How far could you kick a field goal?
Gosh, I used to, when I first got this job, we used to go out and practice, and I think I had maybe a 38-yarder.
That's pretty good. How far could you kick a field goal?
Well, in high school, quite a ways.
Yeah.
Like in the 40s. Yeah.
See?
I was a kicker.
Now,
so.
this is a lot further than I could kick a field goal. I'd be happy just to, throw one through the uprights. But Camden Lewis, of course, that's what you ask a kicker, right? Is how do you feel about your ability to kick a field goal? And, well, it was a pretty intelligent answer that might make you chuckle.
Depends on the wind. I would say 50 yards and in, no matter what the conditions, I would feel pretty confident. If we got a wind right back, I'd bring it back to 65, and I'm going to unload that thing. But I don't know if Cristobal would say the same thing, but I would love to get a 60-plus yarder in. But yeah, I would say inside of 50, I feel really confident.
Inside of 50 feels really good. 65 with a wind at his back, we'll see what happens.
Wouldn't that be
cool? But would Coach Cristobal ever let him do it? That's the question, right? That's the question.
Depends on the situation, I guess.
Yeah, I love that, though. That was a lot of fun, guys, just getting a chance to talk with the specialist. Because I remember Coach Osborne always used to say this. He said, if I got to come out and talk to you guys after a game, that either means we had a game-winning kick return or an amazing kick return, a game-winning field goal, or something went terribly, terribly wrong, right? That's when the special teams guys get talked to post-game. Well, similarly, like I said, you spent 9.5 minutes, the media did, talking to Cam today, and 11.5 minutes talking to Tom. That's because they're having success, and it's because they've got pretty cool stories where they've both had to overcome adversity in their lives and on the field, and they sure are weapons for Oregon right now.
Neat to see.
Yeah, it's fun to watch all that.
Yeah.
For you guys that play golf, you can identify with being a kicker because it's a rhythm thing. And you lose your swing, it's like you lose that kick, it gets into your head. So I have a lot of respect for kickers.
Yeah,
a lot of respect.
I agree.
All right. 7:30 night game. There's something about night game.
Yep.
Friday Night
Can't
Lights,
wait.
high school, I just love it. 5:30 pregame show.
5:30.
All right. Be here. By the way, tickets are available. This is a great opportunity to see either number 3 or number 4 team in the nation. Best of the best.
Right here.
Yeah, right here. I mean, so, and they know when you're not there. They see the empty seats, and the noise isn't the same. And I'm not begging you, but I'm begging you to show some respect and some support the way we used to for this Oregon football team. That'd be so cool again.
Hey, Pac-12 Fan Pass is available now. $250. You get different seats throughout Autzen Stadium every time.
But you get to be there.
You get to be there.
We'll be there Saturday. Join us. Bye-bye.
This has been the Oregon Football Coaches Show on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield. Tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Country Financial Insurance. Protect what matters. And by Pepsi and Bigfoot Beverages. Go Ducks. Drink Pepsi. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.